How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Shattered Lies with your host, Nate Woodworth. Yesterday, I talked about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG, and, everything that's going on with that. I wanted to start off by talking about it for just a second, kind of touch on it, everything we know now. So right now, we know that the president, unless something changes between now and when the voting happens, but it does appear that he will have all of the votes to push it through the nomination, and he will be announcing that on Friday or Saturday. And so the Democrats are going crazy, as we know. Don Lemon on CNN with Chris Cuomo actually said to tear the system down. And Chris Cuomo, and we all know how Chris Cuomo is, the lesser of the two Cuomos. And he even said, he acted like he was crazy. He said that, that shouldn't, he said, no, I don't see it that way. And so, Don Lemon's dumb as a box of rocks. I mean, he is not a smart man. He is very dumb. I'm sorry, but he is not smart. I don't see it. I don't. And it's like when CNN has their little meetings every day. This is today. This is the story that we're gonna push. I don't think he's in on that. I don't. I think he actually believes this nonsense that he spews every day. And he's talking about tearing down the system, getting rid of the Electoral College, the filibuster, all that different stuff. And he literally said to burn it down or something along those lines, burn it down, tear it down, something like that. And I don't think this is a good look for Joe Biden. I really don't. I think that, middle of the road voters who are undecided are going to look at that and they're going to go, wow, okay, I don't want to vote for the party that is telling me they're going to burn the system down if they get power. I don't think that's going to be a good look. Joe Biden's whole whole thing is the return to normalcy that he's going to give to us, which I don't see that. I really don't. I think he's going to bow down to the mob in the far left, and I do not think that it would be normal again. I think we're past that. I do. Unfortunately, I do think we are past that. But if the Democrats are going to say they're going to tear the system down, burn it down, and, pretty much restructure our system as we know it, get rid of the Electoral College, they said they're going to add Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, I think, as a state, and all this stuff that will pretty much guarantee. And stack the courts. 13. They'll do 13 Supreme Court members. That is not normal. That is not return to normalcy. That is radicalization. They are radicalizing, and I think that this will bring the people, because the mainstream media lies. They push their narrative, not necessarily always lie, but they don't tell certain things. They tell, what fits this narrative over here, but they leave everything else over here out. And so I do not think that will be a good look for them. I don't. I don't think it'll keep that return to normalcy look that Joe Biden is going with. But so I just wanted to touch on that a little bit, and get a little bit more into it. So I want to come back. I want to go over to what's going on with the riots and the cracking down that has been. So here recently, Trump federalized Oregon State Police, OSP, and because the DA in Portland was not, he wasn't actually, filing charges on a lot of these rioters. And the police were getting very irritated. The state police and the sheriffs and all that, they actually said they would no longer help, because why help if you're going to go out and put yourself in danger when they're not even going to actually prosecute, right? And so what he did was he federalized them. So when they arrest, everything goes through federal court. And I thought it was brilliant. I did. I thought it was genius, a great way to to try to stop all of it without invoking the Insurrection Act. And I personally, I don't know if I'm in favor of the Insurrection Act or not. I think there is a time for it. I just don't know if it's yet, especially with the way the media portrays it. I mean, when he literally had federal agents protecting federal property, the courthouse. I mean, it got twisted up, and people believe it. So I don't think that it would have been a good look for him, and I'm glad he didn't. So in my opinion, it was a genius move to federalize them and get things done. And what happened? The next day, a dance party, no riots. Now they've kind of picked back up again, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. Because they went to an ICE facility. Now I apologize, I don't have the article in front of me, because these are a little bit older. I haven't made a video on it per se because I just started this channel, but I just kind of want to touch on it, But anyway, so they went to an ICE facility, and what they did is they threw a bunch of smoke grenades, and just filled the whole place up with smoke. It was incredible, and the ICE agents circled around and just went in and just grabbed them, snatched them up. I thought it was brilliant, right? Way better than the escalation that we've been doing. And, there's a way to do it without escalating it. I don't think you should back off. I think you need to stop these people. These are like toddlers throwing a fit. You cannot give in. You cannot. So, one thing, first I'm going to start with this one, actually. So, Trump administration lists Portland, Seattle, NYC as permitting anarchy and violence. He's actually threatening to withhold funds and stuff like that. So right here, Oregon Live says the Trump administration officially identified Portland, Seattle, and New York City as permitting ongoing violence and failing to counteract crime. The U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ, announced Monday. It suggested that could affect federal funding for the three large Democrat-ran cities without specifying how. We cannot allow, quote, we cannot allow federal tax dollars to be wasted when the safety of the citizenry hangs in the balance, Attorney General William Barr said in a statement. In a joint statement, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler and Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan and New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio called the designation and threat of revoking federal funding thoroughly political and unconstitutional. Now, there's going to be a hearing on it, so we'll see the constitutionality of it. I do see where he's coming from. It's a touchy thing because me personally, why should my tax dollars fund your experiment of not actually, stopping crime and allowing all this? So, if you want to do this, that's fine. I'm for the Federalist Society, the Federalist, country, and I am for states and city rights. The more local, the better. So if they want that, by all means, vote for that. If you want it, vote for it. But why should my tax dollars pay for all the damage that you are allowing in your city? I don't think it should, personally. So go on. So they said, quote, what the Trump administration is engaging in is more of what we've seen all along, shirking responsibility and placing blame elsewhere to cover its failure. The statement said, okay, it's coming from Bill de Blasio and Ted Wheeler. Jenny Durkan, I didn't really see much of what she said that blamed Trump for any of this, but Ted Wheeler and Bill de Blasio, Ted Wheeler is literally blaming the wildfires on President Trump. They're not his fault. Bill de Blasio and Andrew Cuomo are saying the violence, Ted Wheeler's even said this, the violence is Trump's fault. No, it's not. And the media just covers for them nonstop, and it's ridiculous because it is not his fault. He's the only one standing there trying to stop it. He is not provoking it. What is provoking it is the Democrats all coming out saying that it's fine, they continue to do this, that is okay, and they're not condemning it. They're actually, in many cases, okay with it, and they say that they're a supporter of Black Lives Matter. And Black Lives Matter in Chicago specifically came out, Black Lives Matter Inc., and literally said that it was okay, that the looting and stuff was reparations. No, it's not. That is not yours, okay? You can't just go and steal stuff. So they said it was reparations. That is Black Lives Matter, the organization that said that specifically. And we all know, the founders are Marxists. They want to get rid of the nuclear family and all this. This organization is a front, in my opinion, but I don't want to go on a tangent on that. But they're supporting Black Lives Matter, which supports the riots, which supports looting, which supports all of that, the arson, and that is overt terror, Okay, so he's not the one who is encouraging it. Now, sorry, I kind of went off on it a little bit, but them say it's him shirking responsibility and placing blame somewhere else. How? That's exactly what you're doing. I mean, when COVID-19, what did Governor Cuomo say about the nursing homes? He said something about, I put them in there. Why? Because blah, 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 blah. Why? Because the president failed. Like 3 states did it. New Jersey, Michigan, and New York. That is not the president's fault. Obviously, the guidelines did not say that. Otherwise, all states would have done it, or at least more than 3. Like, they throw blame everywhere else. Now, I'm not saying Trump doesn't. Trump does sometimes. He does not like to say, he doesn't like to admit when he's wrong. I will admit that. I fully admit that. It's what it is. But the fact that they act like he's the only one, that's nonsense. That is just not true at all. So they go on to say, President Donald Trump has repeatedly made exaggerated claims about the levels of property damage and serious violence taking place in Portland and elsewhere to bolster his claims that cities led by Democrats have descended into chaos. He presents that vision to voters as a reason they should re-elect him. Oh, come on. He's over-exaggerating. Is he now? $2 billion in property damages. I mean, we know that it's at least $1 billion because that's what insurance is paid for, but over $1 billion. But they only pay so much, and that's not counting the people who don't have insurance. The people, they said that the average insurance only paid half, if that. So we know it's probably at least $2 billion. We've got over 35, I think it's 36 people dead now. We have over 900 officer casualties. No, it's not over-exaggerating. I mean, the number one voting issue for people right now is the economy and the riots. That's been done in several polls. He is not over-exaggerating. So they said the Justice Department specifically called out 5 actions that Portland City Council, Wheeler, and other city officials have taken or failed to take, the Trump administration's view. Portland marked 100 consecutive nights of protests marred by vandalism, chaos, and even killing. True. Those bent on violence regularly started fires, threw projectiles at law enforcement officers, and destroyed property. Numerous law enforcement officers, among others, suffered injury. Shootings increased by more than 140% in June and July 2020 compared to the same period last year. In the midst of this violence, the Portland City Council cut $15 million from the police bureau, eliminating 84 positions. Crucially, the cuts included the Gun Violence Reduction Team, which investigates shootings in several positions from the police team that responds to the emergency incidents. In August, Portland Mayor Wheeler sent a letter to President Trump expressly rejecting the administration's offer of federal law enforcement to stop the violent protests. And that's exactly why. If they reject the fact that he is trying to help them, then why should he continue to fund them? He should not help them in one way, not another. They can't expect. I mean, these cities have been poorly managed for decades. That is why they're out of money. And that is why you should not fund them when they allow their cities to be destroyed. So I'm going to the next one, back to the one I was at first, where Governor Desantis of Florida unveils a new bill to crack down on riots, penalize cities for defunding the police. I completely agree with this. I mean, there's stuff in here. So right here it says, he introduced a new bill on Monday that would increase penalties to a 3rd-degree felony for those who participate in disorderly assemblies, block roads, and damage monuments. I agree. So right here we have 0 tolerance for violence, 0 tolerance for disorder, and 0 tolerance for looting, DeSantis said. Talks about the Antifa types, it cracked down on them. But under the bill called the Combating Violence, Disorder, and Looting in Law Enforcement Protection Act, it'll be a 3rd-degree felony when 7 or more people are in an assembly and cause damage to property or injury. It may be excessive. I don't know. I mean, we'll see, because it has gotten way out of control. So, it might not be. I don't know. So the bill states that any driver who hits a person who is obstructing traffic during a disorderly assembly will not be liable for injury or death if fleeing from the safety of a mob, calling it the boldest and most comprehensive piece of legislation that this in the county. Like this in the county, DeSantis said there will be an enhanced penalties for people who throw objects or assault law enforcement officers during assemblies. Good. There's one state, I don't remember what state it was now, but I think it was like Pennsylvania, that made it, less of a crime to assault officers of the law. Less of a crime. Like, it's a misdemeanor now. Like, what? Are you nuts? Like, these people are already emboldened, and now you're going to make it less of a penalty while you're also releasing them and not, releasing them without bail, not charging them. This just emboldens them. That's all it does. Like, I don't understand these people. And then over here, I want to jump to the New York Times, before I close, because I can't remember her name now. I just lost it, but. Nellie Bowles, she's been doing actually kind of decent on the riots, so she's gotten a little bit better. The New York Times, I don't find very good. I don't think they portray things as they really are normally, but this one's better. Okay, now the title isn't. Let me tell you, the title is not. Some protests against police brutality take a more confrontational approach. Just a more confrontational approach. Yeah, okay. And they go on to say, so they talk to this guy, Mr. Moses. Terrence Moses was watching protesters against police brutality march down his quiet residential street one recent evening, when some in the group of a few hundred suddenly stopped and start yelling. He was initially not sure what the protesters were upset about, but as he got closer, he saw it. His neighbors had an American flag on display. Oh no. Nazis. Yeah, okay. Even if I saw a Nazi flag hanging, I would stop and look and like, oh my gosh, I know not to go around this person. I do not like that. I do not condone that. And so I would know, oh, he's got a Nazi flag. I won't go around there. But an American flag? Like, come on. It's wrong to be patriotic in this country. It really is to the far left. And they hate this country. They want to tear it down. And people need to start realizing that. But he goes on. He says, it went from a peaceful march calling out the names to all of the sudden, bang, how dare you fly the American flag. He said Mr. Moses, who is black and runs a nonprofit group in Portland, Oregon area. They said, take it down. They wouldn't leave. They said they're going to come back and burn the house down. Mr. Moses and others blocked the demonstrators and told them to leave. Good. Good for him. I'll read the rest and go on. So, we don't go around terrorizing folks to try and force them to do something they do not want to do, said Mr. Moses, whose nonprofit group provides support for local homeless people. I'm a veteran. I'm for these liberties. Good. We need more people standing up and saying enough. If we had everybody who doesn't agree with this stuff, because, Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, a lot of them have said that they've had a lot of people tell them they're voting for Trump, but with their profession, like celebrities even. But with their profession, they can't publicly say that, or they will lose their jobs. They will be ostracized. They will be thrown out. And we need more people to step up and actually, and say enough. Because if enough people say enough and are, say, no, I won't bow down to you. No, I won't kiss your feet. And I will not bow down to terrorism. I do not, I won't take threats. Or not take threats, but, I won't let threats, put me down. I won't bow down to those threats. And if enough people do that and they say no, then they'll stop. But the thing is they go around and they get all these people who bow down to them. What happens when you bow down to them? It's never enough. Look at the NFL. Colin Kaepernick. He called what the NFL is doing, which, by the way, is pandering, but he called it pandering. It's never going to be enough for these people. It won't be enough. People need to start realizing this, okay? They will come to your house, and it won't be enough. You have to say no. But I'm going to stop there. I appreciate everybody watching. If you could, give me a like, give me a follow. I really appreciate it. I'm just starting out, and this is my passion. I love politics. I love politics. No, I do love this kind of stuff. This is my dream, and I would really love it if you guys, could give me a like, give me a follow, and hit the or give me a subscribe, not follow, and hit the bell. Follow me on my Twitter right here. It lies Shattered, LIESSHATTERED. Sorry, and you guys have a great day. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.